Joe Kittinger, An Unsung Hero, written by Nate Jensen. Introduction. Space exploration has many heroes. If you were asked to name a few, you might mention Yuri Gagarin, the first person to travel into space, or Neil Armstrong, the first person to walk on the moon. You might name Alan Shepard, John Glenn, or Sally Ride, all well-known American astronauts, but you probably would not include Joe Kittinger on your list. He is an unsung hero. However, many people regard Joe as a true pioneer of space exploration. Joe Kittinger was neither an ordinary space explorer nor an actual astronaut or cosmonaut. However, what Joe did probably took more courage than that of any astronaut who climbed into space shuttle or capsule rocket into space. What did Joe do that was so extraordinary? Let's find out. Jumping Joe. Before humans zooming into space in rocket-powered capsule, Joe Kittinger was flying high-altitude balloons into the very edge of space. It was all just U.S. Air Force project called Project Man High. The project's purpose was to test what happens to humans who spend a long time in conditions similar to those who found in outer space. In June 1957, Joe made his first balloon flight into the stratosphere. He reached an altitude of 29,565 meters. He was on aloft for almost 7 hours. The information gathered from high-altitude balloon flights by Joe and others were invaluable to NASA planning for the first human space flights. Later, Joe was the engineer for Project Excelsior, a U.S. Air Force protected safe ways to escape from high-altitude aircraft and spaceships. In August 1960, a year before Russian cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first person to consider to travel into space. Joe Kittinger accomplished an incredible feat. He rode in a balloon filled with helium gas to a distance of 31,333 meters above Earth. A typical passenger jet flies at about 9,144 meters above Earth. Joe went more than 3 times higher a passenger jets fly in a balloon. Okay, so that's pretty incredible, isn't it? But get this. Next, Joe stepped out of the balloon at 31,333 meters above Earth. He stepped out of the open gondola into the depths of space. He wasn't going for a spacewalk. Instead, he jumped out and began falling back to Earth. Before we learn what happened to Joe, let's think about conditions at 31,333 meters above Earth. At that altitude, the air is very thin, which makes it next to impossible to inhale enough oxygen in which to breathe. Joe carried a supply of oxygen, which allowed him to breathe comfortably. However, it also incredibly cold at that high above Earth. At the 32-kilometer distance Joe traveled in his balloon, he was deep into the layer of the atmosphere called the stratosphere. This layer stretches from 9.5 to 48 kilometers above Earth. So Joe was floating well into the stratosphere, where temperatures can be as low as minus 68 degrees Celsius. To keep himself warm in this hostile condition, Joe wore several layers of clothing. He also needed to wear a special pressed a suicide suit to prevent his body from exploding and his blood from boiling. The danger of this happening was caused by the low pressure conditions of space, where very little air exists. In space, pressure inside the body is much greater than the pressure from the outside atmosphere, which pushes against the body. This can happen starting at an altitude of 18,900 meters, which is known as the Armstrong limit. Despite all measures taken to keep Joe safe, he experienced pain in his right hand when the prosthetic glove he wore developed a leak and lost pressure. Let's continue to follow Joe in his amazing fall through the atmosphere. He was being pulled by the gravity back home to Earth as he felt his body accelerate, reaching speeds of over 965 kilometers per hour. Some experts say he might even have broken the sound barrier, so if he was the only person to ever break the sound barrier unaided or unprotected by any software craft for over 50 years. After falling for 16 seconds, Joe's small 1.8 meter dark no-draught parachute opened and slowed his fall. A draught parachute is inconsulated and thinner than a regular parachute. This design stopped the parachute from being torn apart during the high-fist fall from high altitudes. Joe fell for another 4 minutes and 36 seconds before his main parachute opened, allowing him to drift slowly down to Earth. Joe had proven that a human could survive in near space-like conditions outside a spacecraft or aircraft after an emergency escape. You might ask whether Joe was really in space. Technically speaking, he was not. A space really does not have a well-defined border. It is not like stepping across the border of one country into another. Atmosphere just keep getting thinner and thinner as you move away from Earth. However, many scientists define the border of space called the common line as 100 kilometers above Earth. So it would appear that Joe didn't actually reach true outer space. Nonetheless, he was high enough to experience conditions similar to those in space. And remember, he wasn't inside a spaceship. Altitude record for parachute jump that remained unbroken until 2012. Joe set another world record. Joe was more than a guy who jumped out of balloons. He was also a highly skilled pilot with the love of flying early in his life. Born in 1928 Tampa, Florida, Joe spent his early years growing up around Orlando, Florida. You might say he was obsessed with flying. He read everything he could find about flying and pilots, and he built many model airplanes. Wait a minute. Joe spent his teenage years hanging around a local airport and persuading pilots to give him free plane rides. By age 17, he had flown to his first solo flight. Joe joined the U.S. Air Force after 2 years of college and soon became a test pilot, flying experimental and fighter aircraft. In 1955, Joe went from piloting airplanes to piloting balloons. He made several high-altitude balloon flights and balloon jumps before record-setting flight and jump in 1960. In one of those earlier jumps, Joe's chute opened only 2 seconds after he jumped from the gondola. Instead of after 16 seconds, it was supposed to. A cord of chute wrapped around his neck and sent him to a near fatal downward spiral. Joe became unconscious during the violent spinning, but luckily his safety chute opened automatically and slowed his fall, allowing him to float safely down to earth. You might think that this experience was caused Joe to think about changing his career, but it didn't. He struck with the project and made another flight, which led to his record-setting balloon flight and jump. After setting the world record for his high-altitude parachute jump, Joe went to Vietnam and flew combat missions. He served 3 combat tours during the war and flew on a record-breaking 483 flight mission. In 1972, on his 483rd flight, his luck ran out when he was shot down. That became his last flight in combat. Joe was able to fly from his crashing jet and parachute safely to Earth. Unfortunately, he landed behind enemy lines 30 miles northwest of Hanoi, North Vietnam, and was captured immediately. For the next 11 months, Joe was a prisoner of war held by his captor in the famous Hanoi Hidden prison. Joe was placed in solitary confinement for 30 days. During his time as a prisoner, Joe occupied his mind by planning every detail of a balloon fight around the world, a fight that no human had accomplished. More records for Joe. After retiring from the Air Force in 1978, he continued his work in aeronautics. He also added his other record-setting accomplishment by flying lighter than air balloon. He entered many competitions around the United States. 5 years after his retirement from the Air Force, Joe set yet another record. He flew a helium-fueled balloon from Las Vegas, Nevada to Franklinville, New York, a distance of 3,220 kilometers. It took him 72 hours to fly the record-setting distance. In 1984, at the age of 56, Joe decided to go for another record. No one had flown a balloon alone across the Atlantic Ocean, all the more reason for Joe to try it. On September 14, 1984, he took off on a stage main and reached eastward for almost 84 hours, and 5,633 kilometers later, he landed his balloon in Italy. Joe has set another record. Conclusion. The dictionary defines a hero as someone who commits an act of bravery or who shows great courage when undertaking a task. Based on this definition, Joe is certainly a hero. Many heroes in fields like exploration become well known, with the name appearing in the New and Textbook. Joe Kittinger is not a name that comes to mind in connection with space exploration. In this sense, Joe is an unsung hero. His early work with high-altitude balloons was not undertaken for the purpose of set of record, but rather for the benefit of pilots and astronauts. Despite being relatively unknown to the general public, Joe was recognized for his outstanding accomplishment. U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower awarded him Harmon Trophy after Joe set the record for the high-altitude jump. Wait a minute. Joe received many other awards and honors for his military ballooning and parachuting achievements, including the Silver Star, Distinguished Flying Cross, and Purple Heart. Joe is a man of extraordinary courage and bravery who made important contributions to the field of space exploration.
Good job!